All right, so welcome to episode 3 of the Forge Your Strength podcast. I'm honored to have a friend of mine on this episode, Dara Howell. In addition to being a friend of mine and probably a lot more impressive of an accomplishment, she's also a gold medal winning Olympian. So welcome to the show, Dara.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. So just before we get into it, before we get into the formal questions and a little bit of our banter, I just wanted to ask you, are you aware of some of the, in my research, in researching for this episode, I came across your Wikipedia page, and there are a couple of things I wanted to address. By the fact that you're laughing, I
Okay.
get the sense that you already know where this is going. One of
Yeah.
them is a nickname of yours. Has that been edited, or is that true? It's Lizzie D.
Okay, so that one actually would be from my father. I don't know
Okay.
how he got on there though, or I don't know how it got on there, but that my dad sometimes, especially as a kid, called me Lizzie D. My middle name's
Oh,
Elizabeth.
okay. There you go. That makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah.
And then the other one is you're currently listed at 310 pounds on your Wikipedia page.
310.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
roughly. That doesn't seem accurate.
No, not accurate. I actually did know about that. I think that I'm not sure how someone got on there and changed it, but they clearly put a lot of effort to go and do that. All I have to say about that is it's kind of funny, but also social media, internet, it's a very strange world. Sometimes it can be really mean.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, it just seems odd that someone would choose to
No, it's
take their
so
time
weird.
to
It's
do
a
that.
lot of
But
effort,
anyways.
I think, to go and change your Wikipedia. So, you know what? Good for them if that's where they spend their time. I don't need to
maybe
spend
with
my time
that
trying to change it. It's no big
maybe
deal.
with that gold medal around your neck, you're 310. But
Yeah, it's a little heavy.
actually, how much does it weigh, roughly?
I don't know, but the first thing everyone says is, "Oh my God, it's so much heavier than I thought it would
Yeah,
be."
there
It's
you
quite
go.
heavy. Yeah.
So speaking of the Olympics, we'll get into it here. When I've had another Olympian on the podcast as well, and I'm always curious about this because the Olympics again is something that feels like watching you guys perform. It feels like what you guys are doing is so far away from what the average person is able to achieve. And one of the things that I enjoy about connecting with people who perform at your level is that you get to learn that a lot of the steps that you took to get there are, quote unquote, ordinary, are very achievable, are very attainable. And it's
Mhm.
ultimately the achievement of those very ordinary steps that ultimately unlocks something extraordinary. But when do you remember the Olympics being a goal, like something that you said, I'm going to chase this?
I love your description of it, but my mom will tell you that she always thought I would go to the Olympics. She didn't know for what, but I think as a child, I was always a bit of a daredevil. I always loved to do sports. I loved to chase my brother around. So sport was kind of just like inherent in who I am, and kind of being active, pushing my limits was just kind of who I am. My parents put me into skiing at 18 months old. It's what we did as a family. So I started skiing at a very young age, and I went into racing as I got older. And then I actually figure skated, and both kind of skiing and figure skating. I never really thought I would want to go to the Olympics. I didn't actually like the structure of the sport. I thought it was like way too disciplined for me, and way too just like you had to fit the mold, you had to be this. And it's not that I wasn't good at skiing, like ski racing or figure skating. It just like wasn't quite who I was. Um, and then when I got into the train park, it honestly was just kind of me rebelling against kind of my parents. My parents really pushed me in sports. And I was kind of just like living on the edge a little bit as like
Mhm.
a young teen, trying to be like, oh, I'm just gonna like rebel against what my parents think I should do. And so I would go in the train park with my friends. I like begged my dad for twin tips, and he actually said if I won a ski race, that he would buy me twin tips. So of course I had to go and win the ski race to get the
Hmm.
twin tips. So I did. And when I got into like slopestyle, I guess, the Olympics wasn't a thing. So I actually didn't start because I wanted to go to the Olympics. I started because I thought it was really cool. There was this girl named Sarah Burke. She was like incredible. She was Canadian. She was from Midlands. She was really good at half pipe and like hitting jumps and stuff. And I just kind of wanted to be more like that. And I wanted to go to X Games. So that was like my biggest thing as I was growing up, which I actually think, like, looking back on it now, is really cool. Like, I didn't even want to go to the Olympics. I just wanted to do this cool sport that made me feel like free and artistic in my own way, and kind of push myself in my limits, which was all I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think you touched on some interesting concepts that we sort of in this performance world talk about a lot. You know, this concept of motivation always comes up, and there's a whole nother discussion there. But you talked about, you know, you have this kind of like intrinsic motivation, this thing that you enjoy that makes you feel free. So you just, why wouldn't you want to do more of that? Because that's where you feel some sense of peace, even though it's a very chaotic sport. To you, obviously, that artistic expression brings you some level of joy, of peace. But also this kind of like extrinsic motivation of your dad saying, you got to go win if you want to get, you know, what you want. So the fact that you were able to decide, oh, I just have to win. Okay, cool. I'm just going to go win. That's pretty incredible. And I think that speaks to not just your physical abilities as a high performance athlete, but the psychology that kind of goes into supporting that. That's ultimately necessary. That's very much expressed in different ways for different people. But for you, it sounds like it was something that was, as soon as you have something that's given to you, or a goal, or, you know, a reward that's coming for the outcome of a performance, you're able to kind of dial it in. Is that something that was true throughout your career, or just something that you remember from that one experience with your dad?
No, 100%. That's kind of how my career went, which was really interesting, because sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't work. You know, sometimes my coaches would be really hard on me, and they thought they were being hard on me to like push me in the right way, but it actually would like backfire. But yeah, like, kind of when I got kicked to the curb, I kind of am like, you know what, I don't really like that, so I'm gonna fight back to figure out what I need to do to turn it around. So the psychology around that is, I actually think it's a bit twisted, but it kind of just like not tighten, I don't know the right word. It just kind of makes me bring myself together a little bit more and be like, you know what, I'm gonna show you.
And do you feel like in those moments, I don't think it's bad. I think, you know what, to each their own, right? Like, I think ultimately there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. To do training, there, you know, there's certainly some elements of training that you could say like, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about it. But I think as far as approaching psychology, it's much the same. You know, it's ultimately, it's very idiosyncratic. It's what works for you. And I think that's a big part of learning how to perform well at any level in any endeavor, is understanding what works for you rather than robotically chipping away at the way to do it because that's the way you've been told. So I think spoke about kind of finding and exploring that a little bit as you go. So what were some of the examples where it wasn't the right way to go about it, where, you know, getting back?
I have an example, sorry, of how it did go the right way.
Okay, sure, we'll start with that.
Because I feel like that one like pops to mind a little bit more than, I mean, when it doesn't. But so going into 2014, and I could be jumping ahead here, I don't know, but
no, go for it.
Going into 2014, I had just been skiing since probably about 2012, maybe 2011, 2012. It's very quick. I was 19. I was young. It was going to be my first Olympics. It was the first time the Olympics were going to be, the sport was going to be in the Olympics. And I kind of had been like working my way up the ladder, but it was hard for me to even get onto the national team. And everyone kind of higher up in CFSA, which was our like governing body, would say to me like, oh, your time will come. Like, this one will just be a first Olympics. You'll see how it goes. And then going into the next Olympics, that'll be like your time to shine. And I was like, what? Like, why? Probably because we already had a Canadian that was like very, very good and was winning lots and doing all that. But I was like, you know what? Like, why do I have to wait my turn? Like,
there you go.
Why can't I just do, like, I don't know. I'm like all like consistently getting on the podium. Like, I haven't won yet, but I'm kind of like, I kind of am getting there. Why can't my time be now? Like, but they would just tell me that, I had to wait, and that so 2018 would actually be my like time to shine versus 2014. And I was like, no.
Where do you feel, it made me, this is a hard question to answer, but where do you feel that like strong self-belief comes from? Is that something you've always had, or is that something you grew into? Because that's pretty incredible to be able to do that, you know, especially when someone who's telling you, hey, this is how the Olympics work, you kind of just have to wait for the next one, just do your thing out there, and you're like, hell no, like this is the Olympics, I'm gonna go for it.
I don't know. I don't think anyone should tell you really what I mean, with like within a realm of things. No one should tell
Mm-hmm.
you what to do or like what you're
Mm-hmm.
capable of doing or not. Like you are your own person. Like you know yourself best, and I think I've always had a really good gut. So I used to really rely on my gut instinct. And so if I could push myself, why would I not push myself? Mind you, this was at a point where my confidence was really high. I didn't really have any experience. I had nothing to lose. So, and I was so young. Why would you not go for it? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what do I really have to lose? Nothing, right? Like, I don't have the experience. I don't have, I know, I'm just a kid.
Would you say it's fair to say that because you're not focusing on the outcomes there, that it almost makes it easier to just kind of get there and do your thing?
100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I knew I was good. I had my family's support behind me. There was absolutely nothing stopping me. Like, I was kind of the underdog of the entire, not Olympics, but like within Canada, I was the underdog. No one expected anything from me. So it was perfect, actually.
Just before we get to the race there in 2014 in Sochi, um, what was, I think you spoke about it on a platform called Empower, the Empower Foundation, or something similar to that
Okay.
effect.
Yeah.
It
I think Ben
spoke a lot
Finelli's.
about mental health. Yeah, there it is. That's it.
Yeah.
I was looking through it and watching a couple of those videos. Um, and Ben obviously has his story with concussions, and it's something you also went through as an injury. Where you and I met was through your ACL injury.
Yeah.
Not that I took care of that rehab, but that's how we met.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about it from a concussion perspective, because that was before 2014, right? That was 2012, I think
Yeah.
it
I was
was.
going, I don't think it was going into the Olympics. I think
Okay.
it was like due tour of 2013. So like November, December of 2013 going into 2014, which the
Hmm.
Olympics would have been in February, right? So it was like the December going into February.
Oh wow, so it's really close to the Olympics.
Yeah, so it was in like qualifying time. I think I had pre-qualified myself, but I was still like I was ramping up, right? Like I was, I was starting to get on the podium, consistently every competition, whether it was third, second, I had a lot of thirds,
Hmm.
but I was gearing up. I was, on my way to succeeding and being on the podium. So I knew I had a chance of at least being on the podium. Maybe it wasn't gold, but um I fell. Yeah, I fell in due tour of, I think it was due tour a long time ago now.
Yeah.
I fell at due tour, and which was a competition back then. And it was really bad because the concussion itself, I mean, just looking back at like what my friend came to me right away, and she said I was laughing hysterically, and then all of a sudden I was crying. And just like hearing
Wow.
like those symptoms, like I don't remember that. I just remember some really weird things. And I had to go through the concussion protocol. And I don't know if I like faked it. I don't know the right word
Hmm.
of what I got by. Like they say,
Yeah.
banana and whatever, like remember the car, like remember these words and then repeat them backwards or whatever. That was really all they did. And then I kind of just like my mindset almost overrode me,
Hmm.
I think. And then I
Yeah.
had issues after. But I think I just would have had issues after anyways.
Just before I ask this next question about that injury specifically, can you talk a little bit about the sport itself, slopestyle, and how that fits under the banner of freestyle? And like, because you said you fell, you're not just falling, off of a little 1 foot jump. You guys are falling from, 80, 90 feet in the air, right?
Yeah. This one I fell off a rail.
Okay.
So we come up to a jump on our skis. So we come up forward, you have to turn 90 degrees to slide the rail, right? So you slide the rail underneath your ski boots, and obviously whether it's like a flat down, I think it was like a flat down or something like that. So you go across it and then you go down it. And I think what happened is because it was a down, I was spinning out of the rail. So it's probably hard to understand, but so I'm 90 degrees.
Yeah.
I have to turn backwards, turn around, and then land forward again.
Right.
And what happened was I was 90 degrees and I only made it to 90 degrees the other way.
Gotcha.
So I was 90 degrees short, or I think it was 90 degrees short. And so I landed like perpendicular with the snow, like going downhill, and fell.
Oh boy.
Directly down. Right. So like a fall like that is pretty bad anyways.
Yeah.
I was probably only two or 3 feet off the ground. So nothing crazy, but still you have speed, you have impact going down the hill.
Yeah.
Not a good situation to be in. And rails were kind of always something I struggled with, where jumping was more my ideal. I was good at jumping, rails were kind of harder. But yeah, so the slope style, you hit some rails and then you hit 2, 3, 4 jumps, and they kind of judge it overall impression based from top to bottom.
Gotcha. And would you say, having, looking back on your career now, I guess it's hard to, draw parallels between injuries. They're all different, but would you say the concussion was one of the more challenging ones you had to deal with?
Not necessarily, because I think I had that happen in December. I still went to the Olympics. I don't think I noticed it quite till after. And then maybe and then I think once I actually stopped skiing, like altogether, slopestyle skiing, was when I finally healed. Like my vision was always kind of weird. Like I would get a lot of strain on my eyes. Just training in general for slopestyle skiing, we would hit the airbag a lot. So I would have constant like small impacts here and there. So I think once I just entered a normal life, my body just kind of allowed it to heal.
So
but I would say concussion and the ACL were definitely the 2 biggest injuries I had, which, to be honest, like I'm pretty lucky. Like I didn't have anything, I wouldn't call any of that crazy.
Right. And so you had some of those concussion symptoms even through that gold medal run?
For sure, because it happened before.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, for sure. And then after, it was not great.
I think so a couple of things you mentioned there. One, that like you almost didn't have a chance to really let this heal until you took your time away from the sport. And that speaks to something that you closed your video there with the Empower Foundation. You said you want to empower people to recover, which I thought that was really well said, because this word empower is often very hot, active, in the yin and yang kind of philosophy, but it describes an emotion or an approach that requires a lot of focus, dedication, activity, more this kind of mindset of like getting through things, but to empower people, and then juxtaposing that with the word recover, they're almost like opposing in nature. And I think that's poetic in a way, because oftentimes the ability to recover necessitates stepping away from something and being able to say, I actually need time away from this like ramp in order to appreciate where I'm at, maybe devise another strategy to improve. So is that something you felt like you experienced throughout your career, or was it only after you were done?
I think only after I was done. I think it's when you're in something, it's really hard to take the time to rest and recover. It's hard to know that that's what your body needs, because you're constantly in this like you're constantly fighting, right? Like sport is like you're constantly in this mode of just like push, that until you step away, and it's hard to step away, it's scary to step away. Until you step away, then you can be like, oh, I can breathe, I can recover, my body can actually act and behave like normally, which is, I just think, something that we forget about as high performance athletes.
For sure. Yeah, super important. And I think, recovery is becoming a more normal part of the conversation these days in performance. Some would argue the pendulum swinging a little bit too far the other way, but I think certainly there's something to be said for the difference between like, I'm doing recovery work and psychologically evaluating what's necessary. Do I need to step away? What type of work do I need to do? And obviously working with a qualified professional helps there. I think there was an article, so 2014, take us through the run quickly, and then I'll ask you a little question about this article I read. The
Okay.
gold medal run.
Okay, so let's start with So I think we qualified on the same day. I actually don't really remember. I don't really remember a lot of it, to be honest. My dad will like, he'll be like, she doesn't remember anything, and I don't. It's actually bad. I think you just get so overwhelmed in the day that you like pick your pieces that you remember. But so I'm pretty sure we did qualification and final within the same day. Don't quote me on that.
Wow.
And so going into qualification, all you want to do is get yourself in a position that you can make finals. So for me, I would never really qualify top of the pack. I just wanted, to put a solid run down, do what I needed to do, get myself into finals, and then go from there. And so I did 2 qualifying runs. Can't even remember. I don't remember one of them, to be honest. So don't quote me again. But one of my runs, I was supposed to do a certain trick and I messed it up. I think I over rotated it. So in slopestyle skiing, like I said, you kind of have a planned run. You know what you're doing off the rails. Everything has to really flow through your run from top to bottom because it's an overall impression score. That's how it works. And so I over rotated one of my jumps. So I spun an extra degree. So I think I was supposed to land forward and I ended up I was supposed to land forward. I ended up landing backwards.
Wow.
Which is a major, major deal in a run. Because I was supposed to be going off, like, then in my head, I have to think, okay, like, shit, I'm supposed to be going forward off this next jump. And now all of a sudden I'm backwards. Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to bail out? Like, so normally you would like bail out and that would be the end of your run. But I was like, you know what? This is the Olympics. Like, I have to qualify. So I ended up doing I ended up doing 2 different jumps than I was supposed to do. And I was like, screw it. You know what? Like, if I don't do this, I won't qualify. And I like need to qualify. So I just kind of went for it and ended up landing my run. It ended up being okay. It wasn't really what I was supposed to do, obviously, but it kind of worked out. And I ended up qualifying first.
Wow.
Which was wild. My dad was so mad at me because because you don't really want to qualify first because then you go last in the final.
Okay.
So the judges already get to judge the first 12 or first 11 girls or whatever it is. And then they base your score off the 11 girls they've already seen. Right. So like there's kind of a game to it. You could say, maybe not. But anyways, I qualified first. And so now I'm going into finals. I drop last. So all the girls go ahead of me. I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. Like, I can't change it now. I qualified, like it is, whatever. And we had speed issues that day. Some girls were falling. And I was just like, I'm just going to go for it. Like I have absolutely nothing to lose. I remember my coach kind of patted me on the back, like sent me on my way. And my run it was smooth. My rails were not the top of the top, but they were just smooth. My jumps were strong. My grabs were strong. Everything was landed really good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I remember landing my last jump and I knew once I made it to my last jump that I was okay. Right? Because you have so many elements to hit over the course that my last jump was my strongest jump. And I knew if I made it to that jump, I would be fine. I don't know what the score would come in, but I knew I put down a solid run. I knew everything just like, sometimes it's so weird to think about how everything just like aligned for me that day. And I came down, I got my score of like 92 or something like that. And I walked over to my agent at the time. And because he was the first person I saw, I don't know why he had better access than my parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I just won the Olympics. And he was like, no, you go back up to the top and you do it again. I was like, okay. So it's actually kind of cool because I went back up to the top and then I had to wait for those 11 girls to drop again.
Wow.
And just like one after another, just kind of like, what's happening? Am I like, where's my score? Is it still holding? Is it not holding? And it held.
Brilliant. Unreal.
Yeah.
What
So
a moment.
I won the Olympics at the top of the hill with my two coaches, and it, like, so cool. Like,
So you
so
spoke
cool.
about, that's brilliant. Like I love that. You said that it kind of almost felt like everything kind of fell into place, and there was that moment where your kind of coach patted you on the back. Was there anything you're telling yourself, if you can think back to that? Like, what's your kind of little pre-comp routine? Is it a song, or is it something that you just say to yourself that kind of gets you in that zone?
I did listen to music. I always listen to music. I think it kind of calmed me going in, but as soon as I took off, I knew, like, I couldn't hear anything in my ear. I was
Yeah.
just like so focused on what I was doing. Um, it was, yeah, so interesting. I relied so heavily on my coach, my one coach at the time, and my dad. And it was, I would say, like, okay, they're like, it's like an Oreo. I just have to go from like my one coach. I have to like do the good stuff in the middle.
Mm,
And
mm.
then at the like bottom, my dad would be there waiting for me.
There you go.
And yeah, that was like kind of my mindset of just like, I just have to get to the bottom, just have to take it slow. Like,
Yeah.
it's really, the psychology of it is really interesting too, because I was really hard on myself back then. Like, I would almost like tell myself the negative to then get the positive,
In what
which,
sense? Tell yourself.
like, if like, I don't even know how to explain it, but I would be like, almost like I can't do it to do it,
Okay.
or like
So
I'm
like
not gonna
question
win
yourself a
to
little
like
bit.
try and win.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you like
which is,
create that doubt a little bit, and then you almost try and prove yourself wrong. So it's like you
and
split yourself into two people almost.
yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird, but it worked. Like, it would work back then. It worked for me.
Hmm. No, I like that. I think there's certainly some interesting discussion to be had around that, right? Like if you're in the same way that you were looking for an intrinsic motivation, maybe that intrinsic motivation sometimes comes from the ability to question yourself and then, bring yourself to a level where you squash your own doubts.
Yeah,
Um, there's an interesting concept in Japanese culture called kuyashi, and they talk about this idea of like you being your own harshest critic, and not necessarily for the sake of results, but for a sake of like better understanding yourself. At least that's my
yeah,
interpretation of it from what I've read about it. So in a sense, like by creating this doubt, you sort of have this ability to understand where you stand, where you are within that space, that environment,
yeah,
and then you kind of come up with a plan to get yourself out of that doubt or surmount it or prove yourself wrong.
yeah. I love that.
Yeah, it's a cool little concept. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So 2014, no big deal, win the gold medal, all good. It sounds like to this point, a lot of things in Dara's competitive life are I'm setting a goal, I'm working towards it. It doesn't matter what people say, I'm still going to push through and continue to elevate my game. And obviously in sport and in life, that doesn't go forever. There's always, and obviously within that journey, it's not, a straight shot. There's ups and downs.
For sure.
But take me to the difference between 2014 and 2018, because I remember reading an article where you said you felt like you were almost like a ticking time bomb at that time, and
Yeah.
things maybe unraveled a little bit for you from there.
Yeah. It unraveled so hard and so
Mm-hmm.
fast. Um, I I mean, I'm a small town girl. Like I said at the beginning, like before it was recording, I like the quiet. I
Mm-hmm.
like being up in nature. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, I was raised in the country. I was raised in a small town. I just like wasn't used to, like, I wasn't used to the attention. I wasn't used to, like, just people kind of not being on me, but people being, I didn't know how to handle it. I
Hmm.
didn't have the tools in my own toolbox to know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And it made me uncomfortable, to be honest. People would say congratulations, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, thank you. Like, what, I didn't know how to handle it. Like, I was
Hmm.
just so socially awkward, and I probably still am to a certain degree, but I just could not, I couldn't handle it. And I kind of just like ran away and I hid, and I just like beat myself down like crazy, and it was terrible. I never want to go back to that. And
Wow.
I have no idea how I crawled out of it. And it took me a really, really long time. And I think it's easier now to talk about it because I'm out of it. I'm in a different place. I'm in a better place.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was complete shit.
And so that was leading up to the games to 2018.
That was,
Like
yeah,
those.
I would say, yeah, like I definitely went through like a lot of depression,
Hmm.
anxiety after 2014, like pretty much right away. And it just stayed around for a really long time.
Wow. So it's thank you for sharing first of all, because I think that's so powerful to be able to see people at your level of success to be open about that, because in sport, it's all about the moment, the cool moment, the highlight reel moment, the gold medal around your neck, and then there's such a real life element to after the games is over when everyone says, "Wow, that was cool." Boom, TV's off, and then everyone else goes off and does their own thing. And
Yeah,
then everyone has their moment with Dara, but for you, it's like 50,000 of those moments. So it's hard to, as you said, like it's very challenging to kind of keep that up.
for sure. Yeah. I think it's upset, like for me and for looking at other athletes now, I think it's upsetting that I don't even know if I should say this, but that like we as Canadians, we love the Olympics. We love supporting our athletes. And I think that's really important. And I love that. But I think as soon as the games are done, everyone forgets about it. And then the
Yeah,
games come back and they're like, yeah, 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 here we go. And then they forget about it again. And I think
yeah.
there has to be like a human element to it because a lot of these people are really young too. Like it's not like a lot of these kids are, potentially 16 to like late 20s or maybe up into their 30s, but like we're not that old when we're going through like an Olympic cycle or an Olympic career, sporting career. Like I just think it's so crucial to people's development that I don't know how I don't know.
No, that's fair. 100%, right? Like, I think
Like we
that's why.
have to just like support these people throughout because they're developing as humans and adults, and I think there just needs to be this like care throughout. I don't know if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
I guess that's why you rely on your support systems and whatnot to help you get through that system, to help you get through that time, that challenge.
Yeah.
So what were some of the strategies, tools, people, whatever it was, that you leaned on? I know you said you got away and kind of went back to up north where you're from. Was that a big part of it, or were there other elements that kind of helped you crawl out of that hole?
Yeah, you know what, I was really lucky that I have a really like my family is amazing. They've all like whatever I want to do, they will 100% support it. um and I think too at that time it was probably hard for them because I almost not ran away from them, but like I just like didn't want to deal with anything.
Hmm.
But I worked with a sports psych and I love her to bits even to today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I remember I just like called her up one time, had no idea really who she was. I found her online. I was like, I want to work with this girl. And I was like, she was really cool. Like she was great. She really helped me. And I would say not even just like from a sports standpoint, it was just like from me as a person.
Yeah.
And that was really crucial to me in getting back to the games in 2018. And then I think just like healing through my entire journey of sport.
Were there, if you're able to share, was there something that you took away from those sessions with your sports psych that you either hang on to today or that you can remember being really valuable in that time?
I was always like I'm still to today a very visual person. Like I think I process things by really kind of like sitting and thinking about things in my own head.
Mm-hmm.
Um without even really knowing that I'm doing it. So I think I was trying to think before I came on here. I was like, what are some of the tools that I still use? But I think a lot of it is that I'm less in my head, but like more in my head, if that
I
makes sense.
gotcha. Yeah,
I'm I'm like not nearly as anxious, not nearly as like worried as I used to be. I'm more confident in what I'm doing. And I think she really helped me just take a step back, learn like my breathing techniques and stuff like that. And that and the visualization just allows me, like, I still use that to today
I love that.
without
I think
knowing.
it's so simple but so powerful. I think a lot of the times what is so sort of eye-opening about working with someone from a psychology perspective is what we started talking about, how simple tools can go such a long way. And I think it has to be simple to be able to be grasped and for it to
Yeah.
be usable.
Yeah.
And something like visualization is talked about a ton in sports and performance psychology. And what you said there was super important. Like I've always done visualization. But I didn't realize it. So I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of recognition about like, what are some of the tools that I might already be using, and just understanding what they are, how they might be beneficial, and how I can harness the power of them. So something like
Yeah.
visualization is, can we appreciate when that visualization is actually contributing to a negative outcome or a negative mindset or negative emotions? And then how can I recognize that? Because obviously recognition is such a huge, crucial step in the process. And then that automatically allows you to kind of harness some kind of power around that visualization and maybe either stop it earlier or just understand it better, which feels better, or whatever it is. So that's super powerful. I appreciate that. And I think it's something that we're starting to see more of, this discussion about mental health, particularly at that level. You know, we saw Simone Biles at the most recent Olympics take time away from one of her competitions because she was dealing with these psychological, challenges that she was facing.
Mm-hmm.
And for people at that level, at your level, to speak about it is, yeah, it's huge. So I appreciate that. Give me let's go with you mentioned a couple of songs that you were listening to, or that you do listen to songs. Give me an artist or two that was part of your either pregame routine or post competition or whatever it was.
Oh my God, I wish I could remember.
No
I
shame.
honestly would just listen to whatever like top 40 was or top
Oh
20 or whatever
yeah.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
same
that was
idea
just
today.
kind
Like
of,
if you're lifting in the gym, it's something that's just whatever's top 40.
yeah. I'm not super picky, just something like fun, upbeat, kind
There you
of.
go. That works.
Sometimes I throw on a little country, but pop country,
Can take the girl out of the country, can't take the country out of the girl, right?
100%.
So tell me about now. I know you've got your own personal training venture now, which is super interesting. I think sometimes athletes coming out of their competitive career, oftentimes want to maintain some kind of proximity to sport, to competition, to fitness. But I think you struck me as someone who really had that kind of ingrained in their behaviors and their approach to sport all throughout. Like it wasn't just, I'm going to show up to train because that's what I have to do for my body, for my sport. You always seemed like you got a lot of enjoyment out of the training sessions, difficult as they may have been. And that fitness was really a component of your lifestyle that was a big part of that whole picture, not just the training element of it. Is that fair?
100%, I would say it's fair. I actually, when I was figure skating, so I was really young. I was probably under 16. I would go to the gym and not do like anything crazy. But it's been a part of my routine, I guess you could say, for a very
Mhm.
long time. And it's different today than it ever has been. But yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but I never thought this is what I would go into at all. Like this was not where my head was, but
Mhm.
um so I stopped skiing in 2020, pretty much as the pandemic hit. So I was like, okay, you know what? Now we're in a pandemic. I'm not like I'm done. I'm out. It is what
Mhm.
it is. And I'm gonna allow myself the time to kind of figure it out. And that's actually for me where the magic, I guess you could call it, happened. Is that I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna put any pressure on myself. I'm just gonna do me for a little bit. And if I do nothing, that's okay. Like I'm just
Mhm.
gonna allow that to happen. And I'm not gonna allow myself to feel every single thing that I need to feel. And when I'm ready, I will like emerge again.
Mhm.
So during the pandemic, I would actually go over to a friend's house or I would be spending time at this friend's house and we would train in the gym because she had a gym in her cottage.
Right.
And I would end up kind of figuring out what we were going to be doing that day. and kind of using a bit of my background, just a bit of research, like just using kind of everything to figure out, okay, how can I make sure that we're doing a good workout, but also like having fun and enjoying it. And she was like, you should do this for a living.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe. But like, no, I don't think I want to do that. Like,
Yeah.
this is just like fun. Like, we're just doing this and then we're gonna like go outside and do whatever we do outside. But over time I thought about it a little bit more and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just like get certified. And if I still don't want to do it, then at least I'm just certified. Like, whatever.
Yeah. You got that in your back
And
pocket.
yeah, like and you know what, for me, I think to even get to the point of being like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go get certified, I'm gonna try something, that was like huge, because for so long I had done nothing,
Hmm.
nothing, and I hated it. I started to hate it, and so I got certified. I started throwing it around on Instagram again, like very just like at my own pace, being like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna like really ease into this. And it kind of just started to click. People were interested. I was getting really good feedback. And it just like the snowball almost just like grew bigger and bigger. And even like last summer, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get a job. Never had a job in my life. I was like, I'm just gonna get a job because I want to just say that I've had a job, I went to work, and I'm gonna suck at it. And it is what it is. I'm gonna put myself out there. I'm gonna get uncomfortable, and here we go. So I got a job
Yeah.
at a gym. It actually was with athletes, so that was really fun. And I ended up working these like 10, 12-hour shifts. They were long. I was like, what? But
Screw this working world business. Let's get back to the fun
I know, but
sports.
it's actually really interesting because so I was working with this girl and she came in and she'd be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like, I just want to stay home and do like nothing. And I'm like, girl, do you know how boring it is to stay home and do nothing? Because I do. Like, I want to, like, yeah, it's not fun, but like, this is way more fun than just sitting at
Yeah.
home doing
There
nothing,
you
watching
go.
Netflix. Like, the growth for me has been really interesting, and I love it. I love connecting with people. I love helping people. um this feels different in the sense that I feel like I'm giving people service versus people just saying congratulations and me saying thank you, or me going to an event and getting paid to go to an event and just kind of stand there and say thank you, or like it just feels good for me. Like I see the benefit people have, and that was really long, sorry, but I love it.
No, not at all. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I think you spoke about a lot of little important pieces there. Did you have any doubts going into this kind of personal training venture? Because it sounds like you took some time to kind of settle in and maybe find out some of the things that you're interested in. But did you have because your whole career, it sounded like, I know I'm good. I'm just gonna do this no matter what people are telling me. I'm gonna go because I believe in myself. Was this a time where you kind of doubted yourself a little bit?
100%. I think I still do, but I'm back. I always say that, and I hope if I went into a kind of a spiral again, that I would have more tools in my toolbox to be able to handle it. But I feel like I'm in a place in my life where I'm back to how I was before 2014. And I can I feel it. I feel it in my gut. I feel it in the way that I speak. I feel it in the way that I present myself. Like, I'm just so much happier. I'm relieved that I'm not skiing anymore. I'm like really proud of kind of, the up and the down. And then I'm really just trying to climb myself back up and out and into something else. And I want to be successful again. I want to be, proud of myself, and I am. And you know what I think is the coolest thing is that like my family, like the people that know me are just, they just like know that I'm good.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm still going to have ups and downs here and there, but at the end of the day, like I'm so confident in like who I am as a person. And like my family knows me like through and through, that, you know, yeah, like social media and stuff is annoying and hard
Hmm.
and stuff like that, but I don't really let it affect me too much, because I I don't know, I've been through so much
Yeah,
that
there you go.
it like can't knock me down. I'm
Yeah.
sure it will at some point, but
Yeah, but I think,
no,
like
like
you
I'm
said,
just
you have
like
the
proud of
tools to kind of,
myself, and
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
100%. Well, from one coach to another, one trainer to another, I mean this genuinely. You're doing such a great job with it. I've been following you since the jump, since you started that little venture, and honestly, like, keep going with it, because that's really, there's all these strategies and tactics and things that you can learn, especially in this industry with so many different viewpoints and how to do things and what's the right way. But like you've done your whole career, you're just going to figure it out by actually doing it. So, eyes forward and just keep going after it, because you're doing a great job already. But one question I want to ask you before we wrap this up is, so it sounded like that, to take you back to that 2018, 2019 period, you were almost like expecting this, you described it as a ticking time bomb. You were expecting something to unravel. And then it was shortly thereafter that the ACL injury happened, right?
Yeah.
Was that an opportunity? Was that almost like a blessing in disguise, because here's this chance to step away, be forced to step away from the sport at a time when you needed, space alone.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's very interesting to me to look back on it, because I was a ticking time bomb. Oh my God. It was, yeah, it's, my mindset had shifted, and I wanted to go hard again. I wanted to push myself, but I was doing it in such a unhealthy, unbalanced way. And then when the knee happened, I was forced to step away. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting, because I had like, it's so interesting to me how the knee happened. Um, I mean, my surgeon he was always going to be my surgeon, because he's a family friend. So
There you
whenever my
go.
knee happened, he was going to be my guide. But winding up, the facility that I ended up doing my rehab at, like it just, and the people that were involved in it, it's just, I don't know, it's so weird, and I'm so thankful for that time, because it allowed me the space to step away. Yes, I was like way more focused going from my ACL back into competition, and I was so like, that was almost like a baby step for me,
Right.
because I had rebuilt myself back up, right? From like not being able to walk to, you know, first competition back, I was on the podium already, which was
Yeah.
like crazy. Um, but then, there's just like so much that the mental side of it was not there. My body physically was stronger than it had probably ever been, but my mental side of things, and like, the politics within our governing body, like
Hmm.
all that wasn't the best. So, like coming back from the ACL taught me a lot. I learned a lot from being in the gym that I did my rehab at. Like it just, I don't know. It all
Yeah.
kind of just ended up
Would you
working
say your
out
passion
the
for the
way.
sport changed at all at that time?
My passion for my health changed
Interesting.
for sure. I think I always like tried to take care of my body the best that I could, but and you know what? Some of it too was that my mindset shifted, because I knew that I had this amazing opportunity to go into this gym and work out with like the best of the best. And the respect that I knew that I needed, like I had to show up. If I didn't
Hmm.
show up, or if I was like not working my hardest or not giving it my all, like I wasn't going to have the opportunity to train at that gym. Like I was going to be like, you're out,
Yeah.
And so I maintained that, I think, the best that I could
Yeah, you
throughout the
crushed it.
entire time that I was there. Like I just like came in, I gave it my all. I tried not to be late. I respected the rules,
Yeah.
really, because I knew it
What
was important.
100%. Again, what sticks out to me about that time and watching you, go through your rehab was there wasn't a single day where you didn't have like some kind of smile on your face. There were days that were definitely harder, but you could tell that you were truly trying to get some kind of like enjoyment out of this stage of it. And I wonder if maybe that's, you don't have to answer this. I wonder if it's because it was at a time when you were away from the sport, when there was so much else going on. But I think, you know, you absolutely made the most of a difficult situation. And the fact that you didn't just come back and compete, but podiums right away is a testament to everything that you're about, you know, from your mindset to your ability to push yourself physically to your ability to actually compete at the highest level. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and I'm looking forward to chatting again soon.
Me too. Thank you.
Take care.